Alrighty, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This is your host, ID Jester. Wow. What a game. What a game. We're going to be doing some point blank V is for victory. Brand new game. I just did a live unboxing yesterday of this. Be sure to go check out that episode if you want to find out what's in the box and everything. This, of course, is by Lock and Load Publishing, and the game designed by Sean Druelinger. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Sean, great job so far. Really excited about this game and trying it out. So the reason we're having this little intro instead of just jumping right into it is I want people to be aware that this game is pretty meaty. It's a pretty meaty game. All right, it's 90 some pages of rules in the rule book, but it is got, big print, typical Lock and Load, great quality, big print, lots of pictures, color coded, on examples and boxed information. But it's pretty involved, to be honest. So I want people to realize that this is our first go at this. I know that the OG and Mr. Dillinger has already come by on the live unboxing and said if I have any questions to contact them, and they'd be more than happy to help me out. So I appreciate that. But I just want people to know that, this is a brand new game. It's pretty involved, to be honest. And there's, it's similar to the Lock and Load Tactical, but it's different enough that you can't just assume that you can play this because there are some major differences between the two of them and how things play. And I'll probably mess things up a little bit along the way. So I just want everyone, if you're watching this, pause the video. If you're watching on YouTube later on, pause the video. Go read the sections, the comments section, because I want you to check, because I want people to post anything that's done wrong or incorrectly if I say something wrong. So check the comments section and see, so that way when you're watching the video, you get all the corrections and you'll see what I did wrong through this play. We're not going to get into a deep dive into it. I'm going to kind of go over the things that I've learned, kind of go over, the basics. Then I'm going to go through some turns back and forth, and I'm actually going to try and keep this video pretty short because I want to get some feedback so that way if there's something I'm doing wrong or incorrectly, we can correct that. And then, next episode, we'll do a nice intro with talking about the things that we might have missed or forgot to do. Or, like, for example, I'm just going to give you an example. You would not have known this unless I was rereading and just flipping through the book, the core rule book. And I was like, oh, right. When you play a move action, you can blaze smoke. So smoke is used as a combat to cover a movement, and smoke may be played as part of a move action. So I'm like, oh yeah, but if you forget this one little statement, you might forget that. So there's probably a lot of things that I'm missing, or being such a new system, it's not like we have, point blank, this isn't like point blank version 3 or something where we have version 1 and version 2 and we've learned. So this is a brand new system. So again, just trying to keep that in mind when you're watching this. So what is it, you might ask? What is point blank? Well, point blank is a World War II tactical combat system played out with scenarios And instead of using counters, you're going to be using cards for the units. And you're going to be playing cards to activate your units with different abilities. So that's what you're going to be doing there. And it's going to be played out on a map board, a generic map board that is going to be filled in with terrain as you progress through the scenario. And I will show you how that is all done here shortly. All right, so I'm going to move the camera around so you can actually see the board. I guess you don't need to see my pretty face anymore. Let's go ahead and turn the map board down so you guys can see what's going on here, and we'll pick it up from there. So just give me a second here. All right. Oh, let's see if I can get this semi on the table. All right, there we go. Whew. All right. So, first of all, here's kind of the map layout and some of the cards, but I do want to show you guys the ton of stuff that you get in this box. And of course, because I flipped it up, because I'm dumb, I have cards that went everywhere. Don't do that. Don't do that. Dummy. It's alright. There we go. Fix it up a little bit here. But there is a ton of cards. I think there's almost 700 cards in here. You're going to get all kinds of different squads and vehicles. There's a modder there. There's a Stug 3G. There's a Panther. There's a Tiger. Right, so there's your Tiger tank. Right. So all kinds of different squads and units and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, this is just U.S. and Germany, West Front action of World War II. You have trucks. You got all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, tons and tons of stuff. Plus, of course, you get all kinds of leaders. You get radios. You get satchel charges. You get MG-34 support weapons, MG-42s. Panzer Shreks, med kits, and the same thing for the U.S. with flamethrowers and bazookas and all. I mean, just tons and tons of stuff. You get a boatload of stuff. You get some nice reference cards or sheets for information, two-sided, and then you get a super good, super cool solitaire flowchart system, which is I put that back in the box. So here, let's get it out. So there's solitaire playing aid and flowcharts, two-sided again for solitaire. So if you're playing solitaire, which I am playing solitaire, but I'm not going to be using the solo system because I just want to not have to add complexity as I'm trying to just try the game. It might actually be easier with the solo system. I don't know, but I'm just going to play both sides. All right, so damn, there's always never enough space All right, so you can see it's just a map board. Each side has got some different locations. So we have A row, A column, B column, and C column. And one side is going to be for one side of the forces. Then you're going to have kind of a neutral zone, right? So neither side owns this side. This is kind of just generic. And then, of course, the other side is going to be up here and set up their units over there. And then, based on the scenario, you're going to try and complete your objective. In this scenario, we're just trying the scenario from the scenario book. This is just number 1. This is like a tutorial mission. Very basic tutorial mission. Not a lot going on with it. So just a few units for each side just to get you into the game. So the United States has U.S. has got a couple infantry squads. They got an airborne squad. They got a M4A1 tank. They have Lieutenant Cray, and they have a bazooka, and they have an M1919. And the Germans are going to have 3 infantry squads. They got a SS squad. They got a Panzer Schreck, I believe, and an MG42. And then they have a Panzer IIIJ and Lieutenant Werner. All right, so and we'll set these up in a little bit. All right, so I should mention the map board is normally a little bit bigger than this, as it's normally 5 sectors wide, as you can kind of see as I bend it back over. But this scenario just uses 3 sectors, so I'm just folding those extra sectors out of the way. But the map board is 5. I don't want to call them sectors. I want to call them the proper terminology here. I guess columns. So there's 5 columns. We're just playing with column A, B, and C, but there's a D and an E, and you will see the setup here for this scenario, which is going to be different than some of the other scenarios. You can see here's 4 columns wide, right? And that one's 3 columns. This is 3 columns. I'm trying to find one that might have all the columns. Here's another 4 column one. So it just depends on the scenario how many columns you're going to use. But we're just going to start with just the basics with 3 columns, and then each side is going to have all 4 of their rows. So this is a row, this is a row, this is a row, and this is a row. These are columns, right? So basically they're going to have 12 sectors on your side and 12 sectors on the other side, and then 3 neutral sectors. In this scenario, we start with the middle sector here is going to have the objective. And the objective is the bridge. And the important part about this is these icons over on the corner. We have this icon here. It looks like a half an eyeball. We have a black flag and 2 white flags, and we'll explain what those mean here in a second. So the eyeball is for line of sight. All right. So this means it is degrading terrain if you have to look through this sector. So if you have to look through this sector, it's degrading terrain, and it gives the defender a slight bonus on his defense against because you're shooting through degrading terrain. There's other terrain. Let's see if we can find one here. Let's find a good example here. Yeah, most people would know. A stone building you can see up in the top right-hand corner. This has got a closed eyeball. This means it's blocking terrain. Means if you have to see through this terrain, then it's blocked. You can't see. Pretty simple, right? Once you wrap your head around the concept of what's going on with it. The other thing to keep in track is as long as you only have one degrading terrain, you're okay. But two degrading terrains then block line of sight. So I'm just going to set out a couple units here. So we can kind of show you how line of sight works. Let's just get these out of the way. Put that over here. And talk about each of the different what's on a card. So let's look at that real quick first. So it's going to have the information up in the top left-hand corner. It'll give you the nationality. On the top right-hand side, it will give you a number of flags, and that will help complete your objective. So we talked about the bridge here having 2 white and a black flag. So for the U.S. to capture this objective, they can't just put a squad in there. It's just not enough to own this sector. What you're going to have to do is get enough 2 white and at least a black and have all 3 of those in there. So if they had 2 infantry squads and maybe one of the infantry squads had this bazooka, which you can see has a black flag on it, you would have 2 white flags and a black flag. You would then gain possession of that sector because that's the requirement. And of course, each of your objectives are going to have slightly different requirements that you're going to need. All right, so let's go back to our line of sight example again. I'm going to grab a couple terrain pieces. So it's kind of interesting how line of sight works in this game. And once you, I guess, wrap your head around it, it actually is pretty neat and pretty interesting. So I am going to just put out a little bit of terrain so we can just show you a couple examples here of how line of sight works. So let's show you a little bit about what's on the actual cards. So again, that's what I was doing. You have the nationality, you have the name of the unit, then up in the top right-hand corner, it will have flags if it does that. And then it'll have all these icons here. Those icons are all of its actions that it can take. And those are the actions that are available to it. Then it has a certain morale in the blue. That's just its morale level. That is a firepower strength in the red. And then there's a little number. Let's see if I can show you that. Up in the top, just next to it, the 3 there. That's its range. So you got morale, and then you got your firepower, and then your range. Okay, let's move this guy up here. All right, so let's give you some line of sight examples. Again, hopefully I'm doing everything correctly. I could be messing this completely up, which is a possibility. But the infantry squad, let's say the infantry squad wants to... this is the way you calculate range. It's very simple, actually. If you're on the same column, yeah, I know it fits perfectly right now, but that's only because it's 3 columns. The scenario's not as big, so not too bad. If you're on the same column and you're shooting someone, then it's simply one per space. So from this infantry squad, it would be 1, 2, 3 to hit this infantry squad. So simple 1, 2, 3. So range of 3. This guy has a range of 3. So this infantry squad is shooting this guy. It's 1, 2, 3. So he's within range. Hey Dave, how you doing? Good to see you. Now, that's how you calculate range when you're on the same column. If you're not on the same column, then every time you move over to the next column, it's 2, right? So if this infantry squad was trying to shoot this infantry squad here, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to be 6 away. And so anytime you have to move a column over, it's going to cost you 2 and then 1 for the row. So if this guy was shooting this guy over here, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So obviously he only has a range of 3. Not good. This guy wanted to shoot this guy, let's say, let's put this guy here on the bridge, and we'll put this guy right here. If this guy wanted to shoot this guy, it'd be 1, 2, 3. So now let's talk about how you calculate line of sight, which is a little bit different. And again, wrapping your head around this and hopefully understanding it is part of the game, and understanding the game is you're going to take your firer and your target, and each of them, as long as they're on their own side, right? So this is U.S. side, this is the German side. If the American is on his side, then these are the rules for it. The rules change if you ever get into the center row, or if you actually get on your opponent's side. These rules change, but as long as you're on your side, which is most of the time, you're going to have units on your side, and then as long as your opponent's on his side, then these are the rules for how line of sight work. So if this infantry squad is attacking this infantry squad, then for line of sight purposes, we already showed you how to calculate range. If we're talking about line of sight now, you go from the firer to its on its column down to its center box, and then the target to his center box. And then you calculate if there's line of sight through that. So this infantry squad is shooting through clear to a obscured location. This infantry squad is going through clear to an obscured location. So there's one obscured location between these two. So this guy could shoot at this guy if he has the range. I'll have to move. Let's move him here. There we go. So from here to here, it's clear, except for the obscured. For here to here, it's clear. So these guys could shoot one another because they have line of sight and they have range. All right. Let's see. Can this guy over here shoot this guy? Let's assume his range is let's not worry about the range. Let's just worry about line of sight. So this guy's trying to shoot this guy. Can he see him? Well, we calculate from this guy to its center line. So we're going to look at this, and you can see that's one obscuring. And then from this guy to his center, and that is going to be one obscuring. So there's 1, 2 obscuring, one for the bridge, one for the brush. So these guys, if they had the range, they still couldn't attack because there's 2 obscuring, degrading. I guess they call them degrading. I think they're degrading. Same thing here, right? These guys here and these guys, assuming they had a range. These guys, this guy's shooting through brush to his center line. These guys, the target is shooting, they're going through a cemetery. That's degrading as well. So 2 degrading means no line of sight. If this guy wanted to shoot, let's say, this guy over here, he would look and calculate the same way. He's got obscuring, and then this guy is clear. So if this guy had range, right, he would need a range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He'd need a range of 7, but line of sight is good because there's nothing blocking here, and there's only 1 obscuring here. So that would be okay. So that's kind of how you do line of sight and how you do range. It takes a little bit to wrap your head around it, but once you read the rule a couple times and you see it in action a little bit, I think it'll make sense for people out there. And hopefully I made a little bit of sense for you guys with it. And I didn't butcher it too bad. Hopefully. Oops, I do need a clear for over here. So this scenario is set up with a bridge in the center, and then a clear over here, and a clear over here, and then we'll talk about the units here, and we'll see. It's simple once you do it a couple of times, says Tony. Yeah, Tony played with the OG. So I think, yeah, he might be able to correct me if I do something wrong as well, because he's played it. All right, so let's look at our scenario setup instructions just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. All right, so for the U.S., they have infantry, air, 3 infantry squads. They have an airborne, and they have Lieutenant Cray. And these guys must be set up in either A2, B2, or C2. So A2, B2, or C2. So I'm going to just put an infantry squad, an infantry squad, and an infantry squad. And then I think what we'll do is we'll put the airborne squad there. We'll put the leader in with these guys. We're going to put the bazooka over here. We'll put the machine gun over here. And then the M4A1 is in C4, so it's going to start back here in the very corner. All right. For the Germans, it's very asymmetrical here, as we have an infantry squad, an infantry squad, and an infantry squad. They're going to also put their SS unit and their leader. Then they're going to do the same thing with the bazooka over here and the machine gun over there. And then there starts at A4, so it's going to start in the opposite corner. So the vehicles are basically in the opposite corner. And then you got your squads in the middle of the map. You got your bridge, you got your 2 clear. Okay. So in point blank, you go by turns. And this scenario is only 2 turns long. But the way they do turns in this is a little bit different, is that you have your deck of what is this deck called? That is a great question. It is called the Deck of Doom. No, it's not called the Deck of Doom. It is called the Unit action deck? Could be. Maybe. I think it's called the unit action deck. So you have your unit action deck, which is all of these cards here. And when you go through this, all these cards one time, that's a round. Action deck. Okay, it's the action deck, yeah. So when you go through all these cards, it is one turn. So basically for 2 turns, you're just going to go through this deck twice and the scenario will be over. All right. It is very important. Let's look at these cards. I'm just going to grab a couple to show you guys. On the cards, they're going to have 1 or possibly more unit action cards. Let's start again. Ignore what I just said. They're going to have 1 or more symbols on them, which are going to give you the different actions that you can do from that card. You can see this one's got like a little lightning bolt. This one's got like a little explosion. This one and this one's got like little binoculars on it. Then there are cards that have more than 1 symbol. This one's got like a little flag and a helmet. This one's got a little arrow and a couple little squigglies. So if you play a card, you can do all of the little symbols on the card. You don't have to choose. You can do all the symbols on the card. The other thing the card has is it has a dice on it. So you can do this without playing with dice. You can just, okay, I'm going to draw, I have to roll a die. You just flip up a card and it has a D6 on it. So in this case, I would have rolled a 5. If you choose to use dice, right? If you choose to use dice, anytime you have to roll a die, you still take a card off the deck because this is your timer, right? So if you're going to use dice, anytime you roll a die, you're going to just discard a card from there and just ignore, instead of using this number, I'm going to use the number that I rolled, but you still have to absolutely always draw a card. Oh, it's fireworks time. Yeah, have fun. Have fun with the kids. So this is your timer, so you don't want to forget about. I like using the dice, so I'll probably be rolling dice. So I'll probably be rolling dice, so I'm going to be just flipping cards off the deck instead of using the actual. All right. So let's look at the special scenario rules for this scenario. All right, so SSR1, the clear terrain card in A0 and C0, so these 2 clear cards, will not be removed from the game should no units be adjacent to them during the upkeep phase. Units that conduct an in-sector move action with an A0 or C0 and decide to remain in that sector may enter new terrain, replacing the clear terrain. So basically what all that means is anytime there's terrain on the board and you don't have a unit adjacent to it, let's say that this was clear here. Anytime there is, if there's no units adjacent to it, either in the same column or in the same row, then those are removed, and you're going to replace it once you do need to get the terrain. This rule is an exception, so these will stay clear. Let's say, for example, the United States moved this guy up and into this space. They could draw and replace for that clear terrain is what's going on there with that special rule. All right. Special rule 2. At the start of the scenario, each unit that sets up in a sector where no terrain exists draws 2 terrain cards and selects one, what's the unit will start in? Discarding the extra terrain card. Yes, make sure you pull a card for each die roll. Yep, got that. I'm going to use the deck because I would forget to discard a card after rolling a die, says Dave. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the biggest fear, right? So this is, normally you don't normally do this, but for this scenario, we are going to be drawing 2 terrain cards for each sector, and we're going to assign a terrain to it. So we're just going to start up in the top corner here, where the tank is, the Panzer 3J, and I'm just going to draw 2, and I get to choose. So we can use the low crops or the hill. Wow. Units have line of sight into any sector if they're on the hill. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to, as we're getting ready to set up this scenario, I'll call this part of the video, I'm going to call this like the intro and setup. And then I'm going to stop the live stream. We're going to go ahead and start it back up in a little bit. And we'll actually call the next video like episode 1, because we're actually getting into like the gameplay of it. And this way, people that want to see how things are set up and find out about the game can watch that video, but then they don't have to, if somebody wants to just watch the start of the scenario, they don't have to watch that first video. So I'm going to go ahead and just end things right now. We're going to be back in a little bit where we're going to actually, I won't even count this. We'll have the actual setup, finish up the setup for the scenario, and then we'll actually get into gameplay in the next episode. So everyone, if you're going out for the 4th of July, enjoy your fireworks. And thanks for coming by, and hopefully we'll see you in a little bit for actual start of the scenario. Part 1, we'll call that. This will just be the intro video. So we'll talk to everybody then, and until then, take care, guys, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.